What if you were tasked to gain as many levels in RuneScape in a single hour as possible? And what if there was a prize pool of 2.5 billion GP on the line? Well, that is the exact challenge that I proposed to the RuneScape 3 community, and the creativity and planning on display did not disappoint. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe as we are about to hit 10,000 subscribers. First up, let's have a look at the very best free-to-play run that was submitted by QP. Starting off, we can see in his inventory an absolutely huge amount of XP lamps that he has stacked up by doing quests and other activities. It takes him 3 whole minutes to use all of these lamps, and after doing so, he fills up his inventory and starts the rest of his run. But those lamps were a huge initial boost to his levels. He makes his way to Jack and completes the Myths of the White Lands quest, granting him another 500 experience lamp. He then makes his way to the Lumbridge Catacombs and starts training his combat skills. Combat skills, of course, are pretty quick to train. He keeps taking on monsters in the catacombs up until he dies. When he dies, he is transported to death, right next to the necromancy tutorial. But before stepping into it, he decides to create 2 pie shells for later. Next up, he enters the city of and completes the necromancy tutorial, which he had already partially progressed, so he can now easily complete the tutorial and claim the XP and start using necromancy. This challenge took place during the Christmas events, so QP uses his Christmas wrapping paper to teleport to the Christmas village, as this was probably the quickest way to teleport to a bank. Because he already leveled up his magic, he's able to teleport to Taverley as he gets ready to start training the member skills, the few levels that free-to-play players can. To train Herblore, he completes the last step of the Druidic Ritual quest, claiming the XP that it rewards. He then moves on to farming, for which he had already planted some potatoes in the patch nearby. He then finishes the Let Them Eat Pie quest nearby, which gives him some cooking XP and some thieving levels, before teleporting to the bank once again and finishing his last free-to-play Herblore level. Next up, we see why he focused a lot of his initial XP lamps onto mining and smithing, as he goes ahead and mines some iron ore, which he then turns into iron bars as well. These will come in very useful later on. Next up on the chopping block is construction, so he picks up some supplies and finishes off the few levels that you can in free-to-play. He then picks up some summoning supplies and also finishes off that skill. Next, he makes his way all the way to Falador, and here we get to see something that we have not seen before. We've seen QP finish plenty of quests, as he has all of these quests ready to be completed right at the final step, but he decides that the Knight Sword quest is worth doing in its entirety. You actually need 10 mining to start this quest, and therefore he was not able to start it up until this point. He bakes a red berry pie, cooks some more food, and returns to the Lumbridge Catacombs for a few more combat levels. As you can see, as part of the preparation for this account, he also got lucky and got a red Slayer task, so he was able to snag his 5 free-to-play Slayer levels as well during this run. He ends up spending quite a bit of time here gathering combat levels before finally deciding to teleport to Varrock and continue the Knight's Sword quest. He does so by talking to Reldo, then making his way to Thurgo, giving him the red berry pie and continuing the quest. He makes another trip to Falador Castle to pick up the sword. He then picks up the bars that he made previously and brings them once again to Thurgo. He then goes to the Bluerite Rocks to mine some Bluerite ore and logs into his main account to protect himself in case an Ice Warrior decides to attack him. One final visit to Thurgo and then the Falador Castle are all he needs to completely finish up the Knight's Sword quest and cash in over 12,000 smithing XP, bringing him up all the way to level 30. He then takes out some bankable lamps from his bank and makes his way to Maggie the Witch, where he can use these lamps and some of the goulash you get from Maggie's Cauldron to level up his remaining member skills. At this point, QP makes his way to his final destination, which is going to be Daemonheim. Here he starts training dungeoneering, trying to unlock the higher complexity floors as soon as possible. After the first floor, he quickly exits to claim his daily challenges though. He then continues dungeoneering and finishes off his run at a total of 349 levels. levels. If he had a bit more time, he would have been able to complete his strategy of unlocking complexity 4 in dungeoneering and using that to train his crafting. However, it was still enough to come in first place out of all the free-to-play competitors, and in doing so, winning 1 billion GP from the prize pool. QP is also a great RuneScape creator, and I'm pretty sure he's making a video on this run as well. I'll make sure to link it in the description. Before we take a look at the winning run of the competition, I would like to talk to you about a fantastic way to pick up a few new valuable skills with Brilliant, who were kind enough to sponsor this video. As many of you know, I am a video game programmer during my day job, and therefore I'm a big fan of Brilliant, as it is a great tool to brush up on some useful math and computer science skills. The best thing is that it doesn't really matter if you have experience like myself or are just starting your educational journey in these areas. Brilliant will meet you where you're at and interactively teach you all the topics that you're interested in. If you are interested at all in the programming side of game development, I totally recommend Brilliant's brand new course in vector math. Vector math is very important to grasp when you're working in any type of game engine. There's also plenty of courses to improve your coding skills as well, so if you are interested, you can try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for 30 days by visiting brilliant.org/IronAraxxor or clicking the link in the description, and the first 200 of you will get 20% off of an annual subscription. That brings us neatly onto the best members run submitted, and also the best run in total. This is Chris, and his run unfortunately starts when he accidentally underestimated the defense XP an NPC would give during his preparations. So he had to start thinking on his feet and start his run right then and there, before having completed all the preparations he was planning to do. Luckily, he had done quite a bit of preparations already, as you can see in his inventory being filled with lamps as well, and so he makes his way to the Tree Gnome village to complete the quest of the same name, granting him a total of over 11,000 attack XP, quickly bringing him up all the way to 28 attack. Upon completing this quest, he also starts using a bunch of the XP lamps that he had stored up. However, he doesn't use all of them. I'm guessing a lot of the other ones will be saved for when they give more XP. A quick stop at the bank to pick up some items, and he is on his way to complete the waterfall quest, which of course is very well known for giving a huge amount of combat XP in the early game. But sadly, the nerves of having to start his run so suddenly got to him, and he accidentally brought the wrong runes to this part of the quest, causing him to teleport out and instead making his way to the Christmas village to complete the Christmas quest and claim the XP rewards. Next up, he completes one piercing note. He then also completes Druidic Ritual and uses up all the remainders of his XP lamps. At this point, he trains up some Herbler levels using some potion supplies that he stocked up beforehand, and then teleports to Anachronia to complete the Father and Son mini quest and pick up a Hunter XP lamp. Next up, it's time to give the waterfall quest another shot, making sure to bring the correct runes this time, and upon completing the quest, he instantly gains 37 levels. Even with failing initially, still absolutely worth it. Next up, he finishes the last step of Plague City for some mining XP, he makes his way south of Ardoin, completes the last step of Monk's Friend, and by doing so claims some easy woodcutting levels. Next up is Teverley to complete Wolf Whistle and gain some summoning XP as a reward. He then makes his way to Lumbridge to complete the Myths of the White Lands, as well as Cook's Assistant, as both quests were ready to be completed right away. He then runs to the graveyard to finish up his third and final quest in Lumbridge by completing the Restless Ghost quest. Next up is Draenor Village, where he completes the Vampire Slayer quest in the same manner and uses all the XP lamps he had once again stocked up. A quick stop at Rimington finishes up Once Upon a Slime for some decent cooking experience, followed by a trip to Sears Village to complete the Murder Mystery quest. And this quest spree just continues with the Imp Catcher in the Wizard's Tower, after which he uses the Wicked Hood to teleport to the Air Altar for a quick intermission of rune crafting, just to follow it up once again with a quest by completing Gertrude's Cat. Of course, while he is in Varrock, he might as well make his way to the museum, which he has also set up to give himself some Hunter and Slayer experience, as well as another lamp reward. One more stop to Ardoin finishes off Hazil Cult for some thieving XP, after which he makes his way to the port to also start a quest from scratch, being Sea Slug. He goes through the motions on the fishing platform, completing the quest and gaining himself 7,000 fishing experience. He then uses his Wicked Hood once again to teleport to the Runespan, claiming just a few rune crafting levels before once again using his final teleport to Teverley. Here he banks what he needs to do one summoning trip, which gives him just enough XP to get one more level. And so Chris ends his run at a total level of 404. not only being the best members run, but also the best run in total, which of course also earned him 1 billion GP. Here you can see the high scores of all the other competitors, and to thank everyone for playing, I decided to split another 500 million GP across all the remaining competitors, earning them all 62.5 million GP each. This prize was partially made possible by a ton of generous donations of the viewers, and of course you might be wondering what the next challenge is going to be. The next challenge is already planned, but for now, first there's going to be a little bit of a break until that is announced, but as usual, you will be able to expect a similar type of challenge with a similar type of prize. The challenge is going to be announced in a month or two exclusively on my Discord, so make sure to join if you are at all interested in joining these challenges. Shout out to the YouTube members and Twitch subs, and make sure to check out last challenge where people competed to defeat as many bosses as possible without teleporting.